And we're back. This is Artist on Art for today, the last day of July, July 31st, 2013. I have the great pleasure of speaking with local artist Ian Everard. Ian, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for inviting me.
So did I say your name right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Ian is somebody I have been wanting to interview for many a year. Ian is a local artist who a few years back went back to school and got your master's in fine arts.
Yes.
Up at
a little late, but yes.
Hey, I'm with you, Ian, all the way. San Francisco State?
Yeah, San Francisco State.
And Ian uses what I'd like to call maybe site installation art.
Yes.
With multimedia, video, object, sculptural, atmospheric, embodying, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Sound, video, and I wouldn't say performative, but the artist is present and performing acts. Not really performing, I'm sorry. I object to performing, so I'm kind of doing things in the installations.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Performative is kind of a fun word right around now, I'd say, in the art theoretical kind of business. And so it's interesting how you could kind of bend performative into many ways, because I could see it being applied to your work. And this is just from the videos that I've had the chance to see concerning your latest exhibition.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about that. Ian just came back from the Czech Republic.
Yes.
And there he had an installation. He was a part of a greater exhibition who was curated by Margaret Niven, one of our own tannery artists and artist herself in her own right, and a former UCSC student, Gina Farkas.
Yes.
And so these two Californians, Santa Cruzians, went to the Czech Republic and created an exhibition.
Yes. Well, they invited 7 groups of 2 people from different generations to collaborate with each other and produce work to take there. Most of them, I should say, probably 2/3 are actually from California, but there's also somebody from Berlin, somebody from Tel Aviv. So it was sort of international. And
so the reason that it was done, this exhibition in the Czech Republic, in the Gallery Kalifia,
mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it? Kalifia?
Yes, that's right. Kalifia. Uh-huh.
The Gallery Kalifia, which is in the Czech Republic, is because the gallery itself is owned by somebody from here?
Yes, Barbara Benish, who teaches in the Danham program at UCSC, also has a residency program and a gallery in a small town in the south of the Czech Republic called Horažďovice.
And you were just there.
I was just there.
And so the theme of this exhibition, which I find very interesting, how it is international, yet Californian, and in the Czech Republic, that it was about intergenerational collaboration.
Yes.
And so there were 7 sets of 2 artists from different generations that collaborated together for the show.
Yes.
And so you collaborated with your daughter.
With my daughter, yes.
And what a wonderful experience to go with her.
Yes.
I'm assuming you had the installation created, envisioned?
We had a picture of what it was going to look like in our mind's eye, but until we actually got there and started to install it, we weren't quite sure, whether it was going to work, what it was going to look like, but the space actually kind of spoke to us. Everything sort of fell into place as if it already knew where it was supposed to go, and the end result was really quite effective and was, I think, what both of us had sort of envisaged.
That's so wonderful. And so your daughter, Pippa.
Yes.
Everard?
Well, she goes by Pippa Possible.
Pippa Possible.
Yeah, that's her.
Up-and-coming artist. And her father, Ian Everard, went to the Czech Republic, and you created an installation called Shipbuilding.
Yes.
And this installation involved sound, video, objects.
Yes.
Would you mind describing to our audience what this shipbuilding room was like?
The room is in the gallery. The gallery is a wing of a quite old building that must be several hundred years old, and was originally used for storage. It actually has a kind of a dungeon-like feel to it. It feels subterranean, even though it isn't quite. It's slightly below ground level. And we had a separate room. I couldn't tell you the dimensions, but it was a reasonable-sized room with a window which we blacked out. It has a kind of an arched ceiling and a tiled floor that almost made it feel a bit like a Dutch interior or something. It's kind of checkerboard. And it worked really well for what we were doing, which was based on activities that my daughter Pippa, now Pippa Possible, and I used to do when she was about 8 or 9, when we lived in Capitola, and we would go down to the beach in Capitola, find flotsam and jetsam, driftwood, and whatever we could find. We would make ships out of what we found, give them names, and such as HMS Downfall or something like that. And but it was usually for somebody that we knew, actually. So we would name a vessel particularly for my mother or my father or other relatives or friends that we knew, and we would launch them, and sometimes they actually floated for quite a while before they would, flop over or perhaps drift off toward the horizon. This memory stayed with my daughter, and for years she had been urging me that we should reenact it someday. And so when Margaret Niven invited us to contribute work to this exhibition, we used that as an opportunity to reenact it. We went to the house in Capitola on Depot Hill, and we walked along the cliff and down to where the steps are. If you know Capitola, you'll know there's very, very long steps that go down the side of the cliff toward where the beach is. And we went to the beach and we found driftwood and made these vessels and recorded the whole thing as still photography and video. And then when we got to the Czech Republic, and actually before we got to the Czech Republic, we took all the vessels that we had made and we made paper replicas of them out of tracing paper. And this is what we then took to the Czech Republic, both the vessels themselves and the paper replicas, and reassembled the paper replicas when we got there. Then the paper replicas were hung from the ceiling and the video was projected onto the paper replicas and then spilled onto the ceiling. So you really felt like you were immersed in something. It had a lot of people commented on that. They felt like they were underwater.
And the sound was very interesting, and I think it's because of the building materials in which this room was created with.
Yeah.
And so the tile, I mean, again, I didn't get to go to the Czech Republic, folks. I wish I had.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen it. But from the videos that you can find on the website, which I have, Gallery Califia, that's GALERIECALIFIA.net, where you'll be able to see the videos of your work.
Right.
And so the tile, tell us about the sound.
The sound is the sound of waves and the sound of seagulls. It actually is not the sound from Capitola Beach. It's the sound from my hometown of St. Ives in California, where the seagulls are much louder than they are here. But essentially it's just, waves crashing on the beach and the seagulls and the ambient sound.
And so how did it sound to you within this dungeon-like room?
Very much like you were actually immersed in water.
So you got that feeling from the sound.
Yeah.
I think very serendipitously, if you would say that's the word.
Yeah.
Because you really you didn't know what the room was going to be like until you got there.
Well, I have shown there before, so I knew what rooms were available, and this was the room that I thought would be best for what we were doing. It wasn't quite clear we were going to necessarily get it because there were a lot of other artists involved in the exhibition, but we ended up with the most appropriate room, I think. It was a self-contained room that felt both subterranean, kind of underwater, and also kind of ship-like, actually. A lot of people commented that it looks like a captain's cabin or something like that. So it had all these kind of nautical sort of atmospheric effects that serendipitously all work together.
Yeah, it's when great things come together, when you're in the flow. I'm speaking with Ian Everard, and you are listening to Artist on Art. I have the great pleasure of speaking with Ian this week about his current. Is it current, or is it still?
No, it's up for quite a while. It's up for many more months, I think. So if you feel like going to the Czech Republic to see the exhibit, I can highly recommend it. It's a good exhibit, not just our part, my daughter and myself, but the other work is also really good. The
other 6 artists that were in this exhibition about, again, intergenerational collaboration. And so I'm assuming that similarly, how your daughter and you collaborated quite easily, it seems to me, because this is, in a way, a collaboration that started when she was a child.
Yeah.
How were the other, if you wouldn't mind just touching a little bit about the other partners that were representing this intergenerational collaboration?
Well, Margaret Niven, who's the curator, collaborated with her son, Aaron Firestone, who is a videographer. And her paintings are sort of, they have some environmental concerns in this series. They essentially, in terms of their iconography, refer to fire and ice, and Aaron Firestone, her son's video, which was sort of sampled from available footage that he found on the internet and took from other movies and so on, has fire and ice imagery, and sort of expresses, I think, some concerns for our environmental crisis. It worked really well together. They had a separate room. Gina Farkas and Raphael Lomas. Gina is from was a UCSC student, and Raphael Lomas is from Tel Aviv. And they collaborated on something that looked to me a bit like a crochet explosion. She had inherited some crochet from, I think, her grandmother through her mother, which she then worked with along with Raphael. And Raphael is usually known for making kind of absurdist, surrealist furniture. So that was good. Stephen Lynch collaborated with R.C.A. O'Neill, both of whom are from Santa Cruz. Stephen contributed an altered suitcase, which was displayed open and had found objects in the case, as well as references to geometry in the way that the objects were sort of arranged within the case. And R.C.A. O'Neill had a fairly long work in progress. He's a writer, and so his work in progress was in a book that was hanging near the altered suitcase.
So Ian,
I'm going on and on and on.
They're not. It wasn't a parent-child relationship.
Some were and some were not.
Right.
So, but everybody was from different generations.
Right. And so, who else is left on your list there?
Let's see. Nadine Rennet, who's from Berlin, collaborated with students on a sort of accordion-found book. Accordion artist book, which incorporated text and photography, and was set out as a kind of a long, expanded object. Robin Smith and her nephew and niece, Hannah and Noah Shagan, I think is the last name, collaborated on, again, an artist's book. Robin Smith is known as a printmaker. She's from Santa Cruz. And her nephew and niece are from Berkeley. And they kind of improvised based on animal imagery. Then lastly, Irene, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Irene Neeland, who's from Santa Cruz and I believe teaches at UCSC, or she's a postdoc or graduate student, not quite sure. And Arnost Lustig, who, the late Arnost Lustig, was a writer based in Prague, who is known for dealing with Holocaust issues, collaborated, so to speak, because they had known each other, on fables, short pieces of writing, which were then rolled and put in these rolls into a basket, which you could kind of go through and examine.
So were you there for the opening?
I was there for the opening.
And how was it received?
It was received well by the people who were there. Unfortunately, it wasn't terribly well attended, but it should be borne in mind that this is a long way from Prague. So we had quite a few local people there, but
how fun.
wasn't
and
a
how about
huge
the
opening.
Czech people? Were there?
Yes.
There were?
Yeah.
And they're used to these crazy Californians coming in and doing, doing galleries, so they're used to you all coming there. And,
they are.
How long has it been going on? For a couple years now. I know this is. There's been a lot of artists that have had the opportunity to go to the Czech Republic and do this through Barbara Benish's gallery, the Gallery Kalifia.
Yeah.
If you need any information about today's shows and the links to what we're talking about, you can go to artistonart.com, and I'll have a video of Ian talking and the links to the website for Gallery Kalifia. Ian, you are doing something similar for us here in December so that the locals can see some Ian Everard's work. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. I have an exhibit that is the Rydell Fellows exhibit.
That's right. So you're a Rydell Fellow?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then
you
guys, so you got the award in February.
Yeah. And
December will be the Rydell exhibition at the museum.
Yeah, the grant actually covers a 2-year period. And it's a $20,000 award, so that's significant and allowed me, in my case, to do something that I had been thinking of doing for quite a long time, which is to return to my hometown and make work that has to do with my memories of my childhood memories of being in a house that is part of a sea wall, really the protection against the high seas that, of the Atlantic coast. So a very old granite building that's built on top of a seawall and has waves that are sometimes 30 foot high crash against the house and go over the roof and into the street behind, which turns into kind of like a river. And these might seem to be almost frightening memories, but they're really not, because you get used to it.
Were you in the house?
Yeah, in the house.
Wow, so you experienced a 30-foot wave crashing
frequently
onto you.
Yeah, in the spring tides it happens a lot.
Holy moly. So will we get to experience something about that here in Santa Cruz? You
will get to experience what I can communicate about my memories of that.
And the way, the media in which you use to communicate these memories is large part video. imagery?
No, it's video. It's essentially what I do is, and the central activity for me is painting watercolors in the studio. The watercolors are very often found objects, and they are things that I've accumulated or collected or acquired in some way that have to me a kind of give me access to memory and the complexity of memory. What I do is make very exact replicas in watercolor of whatever the found object is, be it a book or a photograph or something. And then I present that activity in a sort of replication of my studio
in an
environment, in an installation.
So we will be able to see this installation in December.
In December.
In the Museum of Art and History here in Santa Cruz.
Yes.
And Ian...
The video part is complementary to the painting part, but the painting is essentially my main practice and the thing that I'm emphasizing.
Oh, I'm so glad we got that cleared up, Ian. I didn't know that. I knew you painted. I'm sorry to have compartmentalized you in the videography box, but it was really great talking with you today. I really appreciate you coming in. I'm hoping we can maybe talk Margaret Niven or some other curators to recreate what a lot of people had to fly to the Republic, to Czech Republic, to see. It would be great to see here.
Yes.
Did I make that clear?
Yeah, we should ask Margaret about that when she gets back. Right now she's in, I believe, Glasgow.
Right. Well, the exhibition has to come down before it can come here.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but we could get together and talk about it, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, for us here that really want to see it, hopefully, and can't make it there.
Yeah. No, we are entertaining that idea. There's no plans yet, but yes.
So, Ian, do you have a website?
I don't have a current website.
Okay. I couldn't find one, and I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, you can see quite a lot of work on Artslant if you put my name in.
Arts? Say that again?
Artslant.
Artslant.
ARTSLANT. .com.
Okay, there you go, folks. Everard, EVERARD. Ian, again, thank you so much for coming up here. So, folks, there you go. Our Santa Cruz artists are making their way into the Czech Republic.